welcome everybody. I'm Mike Morrow. I'm the president of the St. John's Center of the RESC, and I'm going to start with a land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge the territory in which we gather as the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk and the island of Newfoundland as the ancestral homelands of the Mi'kmaq and Beothuk. We would also like to recognize the Inuit of Nunatsiavut and Nunatuavut and the Innu of Nitassinan and their ancestors as the original people of Labrador. We strive for respectful relationships with all the peoples of this province as we search for collective healing and true reconciliation and honor this beautiful land together. And that's quite appropriate for tonight because, of course, we were all over the land last week, and so that's something we should think about. So, we have a, and I've already forgot, Craig. We have a couple of visitors and a new member, David, back there, and Craig and Jordan. And there was a time when we would go through and do introductions, but not tonight, because we got a lot to get through. But welcome, and we might have some visitors online too, and welcome to you. A few announcements. So our next meeting is May 15th. Our meetings are always the third Wednesday of every month here or online. If you want to get the link for online, the people online have figured that out, but anyone else, you can just write to Randy or write to info@stjohnsrsc.ca and you'll get the meeting announcement. And this meeting is sort of a members meeting, but it's a different kind of members meeting. Next meeting is a real members meeting. So we'd really like to hear about any projects people are working on or any interests. And if somebody doesn't come up with something, then I might make you look at my astronomy stamp collection again. So that's a motivation. Think about something that you can do to save yourself from that. And then a few days after that, the Saturday after that's going to be International Astronomy Day. We're going to be at the Geo Center, and we normally start in the afternoon and have some displays inside, maybe some telescopes or a place where people can bring telescopes to get some help. And if it's nice out, we might have some solar scopes outside. And then in the evening, if it's nice, we'll do some observing from the parking lot. For the RESC calendar, the deadline for regular photographs is passed, but they're still accepting till the end of the month eclipse-related photographs, and I think we've already got at least one submission from here. And so that's something you might want to think about. And get rid of that mouse because it's not the right mouse. Okay, and so the benefits of membership, we've got a chat line. You have to be a member to be on that. There are some publications, there are some newsletters in that. And so but I think we want to get to the main event, which is our presentations and sort of reviewing people's experiences during the eclipse. Yes. Which, you're not seeing this? Oh, okay. Oh, I got to share. Okay, hang on here. Thank you. There we are, screen 2. How's that? Okay. So what we're going to do, before we get there, we're going to have 3 speakers to start with, and they're all special people in their own way. But I'd like to thank them, Nikolay, Randy, and Garry, and they all played a huge role in making this eclipse experience a success for all of us. Randy and Garry were doing a lot of interviews beforehand. Randy was doing a lot of presentations, did a pamphlet, handed out a lot of eclipse glasses. And then, of course, as we got into the run-up to the eclipse, Nikolay was posting his analysis every day, and that got almost everybody to where they needed to be. And those of us who didn't, it was our own fault. So what we're going to do is Nikolay, Randy, and Garry are going to talk about whatever they want to talk about related to the eclipse. A little bit of the run up to it and then their experience. They're going to take a little bit of extra time, and then we're going to go through submissions and things that I harvested off of the chat line, starting from the farthest west, which I guess was Cape Anguille, and working our way east. And for those, I'll probably invite people when I'm looking at turn off the lights. Yeah. Okay. I'll do that in a second. When we get to that part, I'm going to ask people to sort of limit their comments to about a minute, because as it is, we're going to probably go longer than a normal meeting, but I think it's something that we all want. You know, I think this, I'm not worried about setting a precedent, because we're not going to have a meeting like this again until 2079, and I'm definitely not going to be president by then. So Nikolay, why don't you come and start, and there you are, so you can just. No, I'm not going to do that. Nikolay can do that. I don't need that. So you want the back ones off? How's that? Is that better?
Yeah. Oh dear. I have shadows across my face, just like a total eclipse.
So do we have him, or should I put it up a bit?
Oh, I see.
Well,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Then it doesn't matter much anyway.
that's okay.
And I'll just sit over here to be technical assistance if needed.
Great. I wish I could get more than 10 to 15 minutes to talk about this, because this was one of the most incredible experiences in my life, and possibly the most incredible. There is so much that I want to talk about, perhaps a future meeting and a dedicated presentation. Sure. I'll let others show their beautiful, gorgeous images that they took, and I'm going to talk more about the experience itself, the lead up, the anticipation, the drama, the clouds, and all that. So this experience was very special for me for many reasons. Number one, this weather forecasting thing leading up to the event was one of the biggest challenges in my career, because for the first time my forecasts were directly impacting me and people close to me, rather than some faraway client who doesn't really tell me what happened with my forecast. This was very direct. Then it was the crazy drive all the way to Codroy. It was the fact that on the evening of the 7th, the day before the eclipse, when we were all in Gander, I suddenly realized that I'm gonna have 10 people follow me wherever on the island I go. I was not expecting that. I was expecting to just tell people where I'm going, and then everybody goes in their own direction, and all of a sudden Robert said, "Nikolay, I hope you realize we're all following you." So at that point, I was like, okay, so there's these about 10 people, and this is their only opportunity in their lifetime to see a total solar eclipse in their home province, because the one in 1970 was clouded over. The one in 55 years, not gonna see it. And so there's only one chance. And so this is decided to do. And here is, by the way, a map taken. This is a satellite image taken
Pointer here if you want.
10 minutes after the solar eclipse. And it's an image that I have enhanced dramatically because it was still very dark. So the colors are extremely enhanced to make the clouds stand out because this is just 10 minutes post totality. So rewind to the previous day, we're all in Gander. That's when I decided that the two best places to see the eclipse are Codroy and the Espoir Highway down here. I put both in my forecast with a 70% probability of seeing the eclipse. That was the highest on the island. I knew very well that there was going to be this low cloud hanging around the East Coast, and I told everybody to stay away from that. Most people listened. I knew that there was going to be this mid-level cloud coming from the west, and that was the biggest challenge. What I thought would happen was that this cloud would be a little bit further east and a little bit towards Bay Despair, but it took its sweet time and it ended up being more over Codroy. And so the winner in terms of clear skies was the Bay Despair Highway. Now, despite all that, you do see this little tiny gap right here. That's what we saw the eclipse through. And in fact, most people who saw our photos said that the clouds made it a lot more beautiful and dramatic than it would have been, if there were no clouds. And this is in no way to minimize Garry's experience, which was probably a lot more relaxing and less dramatic dealing with all these clouds. But anyway, I've plotted some of the locations here. Obviously, Bonavista, Clarenville were pretty cloudy. Gambo and Terra Nova, hit or miss. I know that some people did see it in Gambo. Gander was also hit or miss. Some people saw it, others 1 kilometer away did not see it. Grand Falls, I think, was on the clearer side. And Berry Hill Pond is the spot to be. Very honorable mention. Grand Lapierre. What the heck? I said it in the talk list, but I could not believe Tim and Dave's luck in this place because
it was probably where I was, David saw it. I went in a different area.
okay,
I went farther west.
gotcha. Well, incredible luck. These clouds here were just hanging out all day, and I sent 4 groups from St. John's to Swift Current right here. They, all of them saw 99% and then got clouded over for totality and did not see it. All they needed to do is drive, 15 minutes to the west? 20?
Yeah. What I did was I had 4 hours, so I just took a trip down to Terra, so I noticed this guy, the blue sky was just going like this. It was getting,
Yeah.
So then I didn't go back, obviously.
Yeah. Well, had I known that there was an actual road leading to here, I would have sent my people here, but I did not even realize that there were places here. But
right on the border, like with so much wind too, because it was high pressure on one side and low pressure on the other.
incredible luck. I know I gotta speed up here. So I will show you
Okay, good.
the animation just for A, for weather purposes, and B, for the shadow that you do see. So this is the beginning of the day, a lot of low cloud, eventually clearing, mid cloud, shadow, end of the day. So very,
Really neat seeing the shadow.
yeah, the shadow is
Sunny
great.
as the clouds came in.
Um,
Sunny earlier in the day. Could you post that on the group?
yeah, I can post that.
I'd love to get that in.
Yeah, so you'll see a lot of this low cloud clearing, but the northeast wind just kept it along the east coast here, and it just will not clear. The Canadian model did an amazing job with this, but the Canadian model actually had swift current in the clear, and that's why I sent all these people there.
The West Coast was clear earlier in the day.
The West Coast was beautiful early in the day, and I thought these clouds would be just a little bit faster, and that this gap coming in behind them would be over Codroy. I had timed it so well. And so on the morning of the 8th, I decided that from Gander, what we need to do is drive to Springdale very early in the morning. And when we get to Springdale, I'll have another final look at the forecast and make a call, Bay d'Espoir or Codroy. And so we pull into this gas station in the middle of nowhere on the turnoff for Springdale that you may know. And I take my laptop out, I hotspot it through my phone, try to get internet, which let me tell you, not great. So I'm like circling around the parking lot trying to get the best internet, and it was just not a good experience.
I didn't get any,
So I went in the store, and I just noticed that the people that were following me were outside waiting on me. And I said to myself, I need to come out of this store and I need to just say one place and say it with confidence. Stopping at Springdale did not help me make a decision. But had I conveyed that information, that would have been very unconvincing, and perhaps the group would have split and chaos would have ensued. So I was like, I'm picking one location and I'm going to come out and say it with confidence, and that's where we're going. That's what I did. I came on and I said, Codroy is the place, let's go. So 6-hour drive to Codroy with a lot of adjustment. When we got to Codroy, it became apparent that these mountains here were generating a local standing wave cloud. So actually we drove south of Codroy. We found this beach, then we found another beach. I changed location a couple of times, and we did settle on a very beautiful location that I will show you now. I'm not doing great on time. The presentation itself.
Just lower, yeah, there you are.
Okay. So this was the beach. Nobody expected that day we would end up on this beautiful sandy beach. These are some of the people there. Craig and Randy, Lori and Emily. Emma, sorry. Robert, a group from the Winnipeg RASC Center. Kim, I believe you said you were going to watch this recording, so hi. Shout out. She was a very enthusiastic member with a telescope, and she just joined us for this incredible experience. Doug and his partner, Dave Newbury, and his wife, and myself. And I wonder, am I missing someone? I think that's it. So this was the view. Gorgeous. It was a beautiful day. Sunny, 9 degrees, no wind. Wow. Hey, this was the causeway kind of leading up to Codroy. I brought a champagne with a solar eclipse theme on it, and I let it chill in the ocean water, kind of on the rocks here. So that was something that happened to me in my previous eclipse experience in Idaho. The random people next to me had champagne and they gave me some, and I thought, what a great idea to celebrate this beautiful event with champagne. So I'm continuing the tradition from now on. Where did my cursor go?
Make sure you got the right.
Oh, right. Too many mice.
Yeah, I tried to push that one out.
So as eclipse approached, so did clouds from the northwest. Initially, they didn't seem too bad, but you can see here they were starting to get pretty thick. This guy was getting ready. Very excited. The sun is shining on his face for now. This is the other part of the group just getting ready for the eclipse. I think we're just about to enter the partial phase. Kids are playing with rocks. Good times. The partial phase started. We saw a little bit of the sun getting bitten off. but you can see the cloud is getting pretty thick. So, and at this point, it just became very difficult to see the sun. So a couple of minutes after the partial phase started, the sun became completely obscured, not only by the moon, but by clouds. And that is when the energy on that beach went from extreme excitement to complete silence. Just brutal. And my heart was sinking because I made all these people drive this whole distance. And that's when I said, you know, this energy is not helping. We need to remain hopeful and positive. And so I started walking around. I started doing a little weather dance. I got a few crazy people to join me in the weather dance. I banned all the negativity. And as soon as I did that, I started noticing these little holes starting to open up like well downstream of the sun. And I would have been extreme luck at that point for those holes to hit the sun. But there was hope. And in fact, about 5 to 8 minutes before totality, a magic hole hit the sun. And we witnessed, well, this was just before that. So this is when the holes started happening. You can see here the dark shadow slowly approaching us, well, quickly approaching us from the ocean. And here is totality. It was one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen, with the clouds, the sunset in every possible direction, the birds freaking out, the temperature dropping 6 degrees. Dave had a thermometer. It got so cold, I couldn't believe it. The shadows getting super sharp, everything. So we saw the longest eclipse in Newfoundland, 3 minutes and 3 seconds. That was, by the way, another reason why I picked Codroy. And this is just after totality. The group is celebrating. We're happy again. All that despair is forgotten.
That's your videos. Go down to the bottom.
Okay, that's a video of totality. Just a quick 360 on the beach. It looks a lot brighter than it was. I think my camera is overcompensating. It was a fair bit darker. This is yours truly.
Real glasses, real glasses.
Bought them the previous day from Winners. Just for this. All right. Well, I think that's all I have. Incredible experience.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for all that crazy people who followed me. I don't know if it was a great idea, but it turned out to. It worked out.
Thank you. How this works again?
You just want to keep your mouse on this one and you can sort of control with the little wheel.
Okay, this is my 6th eclipse trip. 5th successful. Thanks to Nikolay and everybody else who helped. I just wanted to say though that everybody's perception of an eclipse is different.
Randy, microphone's over here. You've done that to me about 1,000
Yeah,
times.
I just wanted to say, as I said, that everybody's view of the eclipse is different. If you're sitting on the beach, relaxing, looking up, you see aspects that photographers don't see, or people looking through a telescope. And that is, you get to feel all the surreal, that color of the sky, the color of the light. You can't describe that color, the grayish color. And the geese that went overhead and the wind dropped away. We all had to find blankets to put over. Anyhow, so I'll show you a photographer's view of what we saw rather than what it was sitting on the beach. Okay, so we've been looking forward to this eclipse for some time. A bunch of us, myself and Garry and Robert and Dave Newbury went to US for this 2017 eclipse. Mostly successful. We spent 10 or 11 hours on the bus coming back, stuck in traffic, etc. And because of traffic, we were late getting there, even though we left at 2:30 a.m. in the morning for a 10 o'clock trip. That was only a 2-hour bus ride. So anywho, so we started getting prepared. Everybody at National started to get prepared. They designed and ordered eclipse glasses for the society. We got together and ordered 1,000, either amongst ourselves or as giveaways to meetings and other people. And then a number of us bought our own supply from that, and we're then distributing them to friends and family and people you met. So interviews started then, but Garry was doing Intergalactic Garry, as he's known, on CBC Radio. And I don't have any photos of Garry doing those because they're mostly over the phone. But, you know, the media started to get a hold of this late fall. And I started to do some presentations, Geo Center, and these sorts of things. And at each one of them, we gave away eclipse glasses. We spent quite a bit of time collaboratively on that brochure that's there in the front, specifically on the map. If only we had a weather forecast to overlay on the map, but again, there's only so much you can do for research. One of the things that I did was look at the cell phone coverage, for example. Where would cell phone coverage be? And pretty much once you got off the Trans-Canada, in a lot of places you got no cell phone coverage. Bay d'Espoir went down a bit. So in the end, we ordered more eclipse glasses. Good. Can I move it over?
Yeah.
So as I say, last year we started having meetings, you know, getting people ready for the eclipse. Then starting in January, February, March, we had 3 specific meetings on the eclipse. Some of the presentations we did. Anna happened to be home at the time, Anna O'Grady. So I hooked her up with a College of the North Atlantic have a journalism program. So one of them wanted to do a presentation. So we hooked up at one of her lectures. She was giving a prestigious lecture at the Geo Center. And we got roped into doing these interviews. That video is online. If you just search for Newfoundland Eclipse, I'm sure you'll find it. So we spent quite an effort on that pamphlet that we were giving out. Now, one pamphlet can't express everything. I mean, how would you put all the safety aspects in a little bit of space that we had there? Same with photography. How do you describe what a cell phone will work like, what a telescope camera is going to look like versus? So Craig did quite a bit of work getting the website up on this. So publicity started. The Geo Center were on board, probably because of Garry as well. So every day they were posting, you know, eclipse facts and things, and I think I liked so many of their postings that I got a Dymond supporter medal from them, right? So as well, we were doing our own web pages, and
I like the one at the bottom right of that screen.
which other?
If once upon a time you were falling in love, but now you're only falling apart, there's nothing you can do. That's a different type of eclipse.
Okay. VOCM is there as well. Now, they were using some stock footage. So our center webpage was up and running fairly early on. I've done a video on the walkthrough of that you can find on our YouTube channel. Various tabs there of the safety aspects where to go. So even up until Sunday morning at 9:30 in the morning, I was getting people come to my door looking for eclipse glasses. I even had to put out a marquee saying, yes, you did come to the right spot to pick up eclipse glasses. I don't know who those people are. So you were modeling our glasses, so I stole your picture. It was Facebook, so I even at the end were carrying these kits I made up with 2 glasses and the thing in a paper bag in my pocket everywhere I went. And if I heard anybody say anything about eclipse, they got the glasses, right? Also, these are the packages that I gave out to people, usually 2 glasses and the brochure, right? So between ourselves and the center, we distribute about 1,500 glasses. And as far as I know, Downtown Merchant Travel Bug sold at least 5,000 pairs. So they made some money. So many of us decided to use Gander as a base instead of like driving all the way to the west coast, then you're stuck. So that's where the convoy chase developed. And that's Robert's picture there of 6 cars following him. I think Werner, I'm that one there, I think. I'm not sure.
So was Robert actually driving when he took that picture?
No, I think he threw his phone out the window and let it, yeah.
Well,
So-
that's why we have parked for him to
Yeah.
let it passes.
So anyhow, like I say, for various reasons, some people decided to go Espoir Highway. Garry was mostly for car trouble, and you lucked out on that one. And like I said, we went to the West Coast. Some people went back and get you different experiences. So eclipse preparation is always the thing. So some of my stuff, I was carrying both a Sea-Star telescope and a Canon lens with a solar quest mount. I don't know if you know what a solar quest mount is. It's sort of like the AZ GTI Skywatcher mount. It has a camera right there. So all you do is it has its own GPS and all these other sensors in it. So you basically just turn it on a bit left of the sun. It finds the sun and tracks it all day for you. So, and then you put your mount and stuff on it. That's what I had my lens on. These came in really useful. Those are pads for tripods. And certainly in the sand on the beach, it certainly helped to have a web foot this big, right? Different, again, redundancy, 2 power supplies. The Sea-Star has its own power supply. I even brought a spare phone and a speaker to have the solar eclipse timer thing running in the background so I could shout out to people, get your glasses off and all this sort of stuff. That's the tripod for the Solar Quest. A lot of stuff you can't see there, glasses, all kinds of stuff that I have. I was using a dummy battery in my camera, so I didn't have to worry about, you know what, cameras these days and notoriously small batteries in them only last like 50 shots, right? I had a pair of solar binoculars. I don't like using solar binoculars in public because it gives the idea that you can use binoculars. So even though I put red tape and everything on them, I gave those to Emma and Laurie, and they use them for the whole eclipse. I had other stuff to look at for some reason. Okay, so I don't know how much I can say about that. Mike is gonna. Nikolay didn't mention, we stopped at a couple of different places to reconnoiter. This place here, and when we got there, for example, even though the washroom was sealed up, people were trying to pick it apart and everything. There was a guy setting up a Meade, look at least a 12-inch telescope right there. I don't know where he's from. Huge big telescope. It was a bit too breezy for us there, so we decided to go back over a ways. One of the places we stopped on that chase, huge, beautiful halo. And of course, this is the timer data. So that was my setup on the beach. as I say, my camera and the Sea Star. Everybody knows what a Sea Star is, right? We're the most popular telescope in Newfoundland. Right, Garry?
And New Zealand.
So this is what I saw through my Sea Star. So again, that's my view. What I was doing, I was taking screen grabs because the phone runs the Sea Star. Once I verified that it was performing properly, I was taking 1 second video as well for the whole thing. And that's something to watch. I didn't bring it tonight, but I managed to catch some prominences, 2 diamond rings, and right to the very last second. So even though Nikolay would say it was mostly cloudy, your view in a telescope or magnification lens is completely different from what you guys saw on the beach, right? And because of that, I didn't bother really doing many of my shots with my camera. Instead, I was looking up instead. So these are some of the things I grabbed off Facebook and other places of what people did see, different places, Millertown, professional photographer, of course, you know what they're like, right? And that was in Millertown. I think that's Buckins Junction, Wesleyville. So what's next? If you're like me, there's nothing left in North America. Everybody forgets there's a little tiny one up in, there's a little tiny one just up at the very end of Alaska in 33, but it's very hard to get to. 44 will come down through Calgary and those places. I'll be in my 90s, so. So as I say, the next big one is 45 for the US. That's follows the path very much like the 2017 eclipse. So yeah, 79. So a lot of people are talking about Spain. Problem with the Spain one in 26, it's just before sunset and it's only a minute and a half. So Gibraltar in 27.
Gibraltar in 2027 is going to be 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Doesn't that eclipse go through Iceland as well, or?
That's
Yeah, the
26 is
goes
Iceland, but only a very, very small piece of Iceland on the sides.
Very western.
Greenland was before that.
Oh.
Yeah, again, who lives in Greenland? If you're military, you can get there. So that's basically what I have to say. As I said, that's my 5th total solar. One of the shots that Nikolay was taking on the beach, I had my hand up with 5 on it, but that didn't make it, right? So I'll hand it off to Garry.
Okay, so Gary, just, if you keep the mouse on the screen, then you can just advance with that.
Okay.
And that's, you can turn on.
Okay. I see. He's got my all 360 degree. Oh. Hi. Can you see me now? Can you see my head? Anyway, this was, I decided to put up a 360 fisheye lens, and I discovered that I had to reach over and turn it on all the time. My batteries died on the timer. I had a lot of trouble on this one, but I just thought it was kind of interesting to see how it went. Let's get out of that. Okay. You got these changed from me from last time? So these,
I don't know, I think they should be, did you go past no, I think that's the order.
oh, okay, because I thought there was 2 movies.
The movies are late.
Okay, thanks. Anyway, I was driving, I had to go out on Thursday night to Gander because I was giving a talk on Friday night and I figured I'd be too tired. And that all talk, which went over really well to all 12 people. but it was a good talk. Then I drove home, which was an hour away to Campbellton, which is down by Lewisport, and a snowstorm. And I was saying, we ain't going to see nothing tomorrow. We ain't going to see nothing tomorrow. And so then I suggested a Zoom, and Nikolay came on with these things and stuff like that. Now, as I was going home that night, I had all the headlights on my car. Come on. My steering had gone, and I pulled over, and I had to look up the book, know what was going on. And it said, turn the car back on. If nothing's happened, go on. So I did. So that's why I didn't go to the West Coast. I wasn't sure if my car would make it to the West Coast. Anyway, so these are some of the pictures I took of the sunspots and stuff like that. Anyway, 7 o'clock of the eclipse, I got a phone call from CBC. They want to know what it was going to be like where I was going. So I gave them an interview. I just got off the phone, then CBC Corner Brook called and said, where are you going? They said, oh yeah, they're saying Beta Spear is good, stuff like that. So then I was driving down Beta Spear and BOCM's calls, open line. They said, would you go on the open line first? I said, well, I'm going down Beta Spear Highway right now, and it may go out. And went out. So, so I didn't get BOCM. And the night before, I was talking to Eddie, and Eddie said, well, you could do this live show because you're the only one I know who's actually seen one. I've seen 5 now, 4 successfully. And I said, no, Eddie, I want to see the eclipse. So I turned down my 15 minutes of fame on TV. So anyway, I was going down, and I went down right to the center line, but there was nothing back. But I knew there was a nice flat area which had the west totally clear and the mountains in the back. So I sat down there, and I put that 3D right in the middle, camera in the middle. I figured I'd get everybody around. If there was anybody, I was all by myself. And in comes this 18-wheeler. And it was like that much away from my camera. So I put my camera right over to the edge. So that's why I didn't get some great pictures. But these are from my thing, and I thought they were pretty good. And you can see the nice sunspots. And I got into, just click. Okay.
Oh, you have to, yeah, okay.
Okay. And these are my pictures. This is the ring before, totality, and the ring after. And you can actually see these are just a couple of ones that I took. But I was so excited. And I had all these people. We had to have something like over 30 people. Your group was there. I was using your car or somebody else's car to show the who owned the white car. Yeah, I was showing I had the thing you put your vegetables in and let the water go through.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. I had that up, and people were taking pictures of it. Anyway.
Did you see stars?
We saw Venus and Jupiter, and I had binoculars, but I couldn't find the comet. So am I on the right spot here now again? Yes. Okay. And,
so that's your gift.
okay. There she goes.
It's fair.
So this is a GIF I put together. Yes. Totality. I like this because you could actually see the spikes changing. The movie was much different. Yeah, that's it. Okay, and okay, what else is there? Oh, this is 3 minutes of the movie. You don't want to see 3 minutes of the movie, do you? Totality.
Show a bit of it.
Oh, you took the one down. This is the one off the Geo site.
This is what you sent me.
Was it? Oh, well, this one's on the Geo site. It's got over 700 views now. The most the Geo Center ever got. I keep getting these notices. You've got over. Why don't you make another one? But unlike the GIFs, you can't see this moving as fast as differently. You can see all the different phases of it. So we had 3 minutes and 21 seconds. Now, when I showed up, I was by myself, and then this truck showed up, 18-wheeler, nearly knocked over and moved on. And then this guy is driving madly across, speaker brakes, pulls in, and this is Harry. His name is Harry. I'm Garry, Harry. right? And he's become my best friend, hasn't he? Yes. He's also had an experience. It was the best thing in his life he ever had. And for some strange reason, he keeps calling me and telling me this. So it's kind of interesting. It's a great thing. Anyway, let's get out of that. How do I do that? Just click again.
Yeah, just use the,
Oh. Up there's not wheeling.
need to make sure you're,
No, you gotta work over here.
Oh. Okay, yeah. So here I am. We had a family from Russia, new Canadians, 6 years. They had come. They had been to Wyoming to see the one eclipse. We had a gentleman from Japan and his wife, and some crazy Newfoundlanders. Everybody was having a good time. You can see. So Harry came, stopped, and said, "You're looking at the eclipse, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." So we set up. I set up my one scope, and then I opened up a case for my other scope to get the wide view. And I had a beautiful case. I had left the telescope and the camera on my friend's Hamilton kitchen table that morning. So then I had also just turned on my Sea Star the night before, and they had an upgrade. And that's when I discovered that the upgrade didn't work on the Sea Star in the Sun one. So as happened, I had my phone, so I had to close down one camera, because I had two of them on the same. I couldn't work both of them, so I used the Sea Star and worked this. And then everybody came over and looked at the phases through this camera here. So then I had two telescopes down. My third one was set up to do a spectrum flash eclipse spectrum, just before you get this beautiful spectrum. That was my science project. So anyway, that was the type of thing, and I should have put the picture of you underneath the towel. He was I got pictures of him underneath the towel, taking pictures of pictures. So I was explaining to people what things were coming and stuff like this. And like I said, we had the color on this man's thing. He took lots of pictures of this thing. And during the shadow, we took pictures of the shadow before, and the shadow is softly focused. But when you get right to just the end, it comes very sharp. And I don't have that one up there, but you could see the individual hairs on my head standing up. That's how sharp it was. It's kind of cool. This is a couple of experiments I was getting people involved with. And then I had a thermometer put on top of my thing, but it got knocked down and the battery broke. So I said to Harry, take a picture, because he was always getting in the car warming up. So take a picture. He's the only guy I know that uses Fahrenheit. So it was a 17-degree drop in Fahrenheit, 9 degrees in Celsius from Road Lake to thing. It got so cold that one couple who I was next to, she turned to her husband, she said, "We're not camping tonight. We're going to go back to Gander and get a motel." I don't know if it was the eclipse or the cold weather, but that was it. And then we have our crowd. And there's my camera in front, my all sky type thing. I never did. Oh, in all the excitement, taking off the glasses. What I noticed really funny was because it was down lower than usual for me, you could see the mountains in the background and you could see the trees in the front. So it was, when people took off their glasses, they said, "Wow," they couldn't believe how big it was. That was the optical illusion of the low sky and the mountains in the background. That was the number one thing. They said with the glasses on, there was this little tiny thing and they weren't going to see it. And what they saw was this big gaping hole in this totally blue, undescribable blue. Jim's dog, who suffers from anxiety, so he was really, when the eclipse came, he sat down, became totally quiet. The bald eagle that was flying overhead he took off. And the crow, he just went up in the tree. We had one crow and one eagle. The kids were kicking the rocks around because they were fed up. Soon as totality came, and Harry kept saying, when is this moon shadow coming? I said, right now, and it'll come, boom, and this will happen, this will happen. It came, the kids all of a sudden broke down and cried. They ran to their moms, the little girls ran to their fathers. There was an eerie silence. And then there was the wows and the JCs and the holy, type of excitement. It was the fastest 2 minutes and 53 seconds. And I couldn't believe the drop, so I thought that was interesting. I think this is the last one. And this is the clouds are coming in, everything. And I think that was pretty much close to the color that I can remember. But I couldn't get over how big it was. And most people couldn't. And it was just the optical illusion, like, when the moon's coming up. It was really big, wasn't it? It looked like God opened up his mouth with a big O and sucking in the atmosphere. Because all you could see, there was white on the side going, and everyone was going, oh, oh. It was a beautiful experience. Can't wait for the next one. And do you know what? I've always wanted to see the pyramids. 2027. Here I come.
Let's go.
I think I was in the 10 minutes.
Whatever. We're having fun. And that reminds me, I meant to bring Gary's jacket, which he left in Gander, but I didn't. It's getting warmer, so you don't need it anyways, right? Okay, so that was great. We're going to go through now fairly quickly other people's observations, and going to have a quick peek at who's online, just so I know who to. Okay, and okay, so starting actually slightly west of the crowd that was in Codroy, I think was Bernard. Is Bernard online?
Yes, I am, Mike.
So you want to just take about a minute to talk about, I've got your slides here. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was one of the guys that went west that day, and I met the guys in Springdale, and then we went on from there and went to over to Stephenville Crossing. So when we got there, I sort of left a little early because I had a fair bit of gear there to set up, and I said, well, I'm going to drive on ahead. So I went right on out to Cape Anguille, and there's a lighthouse there, and I think it's supposed to be the most westerly point on the island. And the first thing I saw was a building there, and I said, well, the wind was blowing a fair bit, so I got right into what we call a lund there, and there wasn't much wind there, and I set up there and just got going, I guess. And when the clouds started to move in a bit there, but anyway, I did manage to get a few pictures. Just one there, yeah, and there's a few things on it there, and I managed a few more there. I had a Solar Max scope there, a solar scope there with an ASI 294 camera on there, and I had a laptop going on that one, and I had also had my Sharp Cap 61mm there with a filter on it, and I had another laptop there on that one, but I ran into trouble with getting the right exposures there where the cloud came over, and I had the Solar Max camera with Sharp Cap running, and I had also had auto exposure. And what happened was that when the cloud would move over, the exposure time would go right up, and then it would when it get a little bright, it'd go down again. And by the time it did, then the cloud moved by, and the picture was either overexposed or underexposed. So this is the few I did get there. And
Okay.
anyway, I had it all tracking there, and I tracked everything there on my, I had a homemade mount I made up there and all that kind of stuff, and I had it all working good there. But anyway, it didn't work out that well for me, but not so good as I would hope to. But I did have a great experience over there, and just as the totality came along, I said, well, I'm going to give up this. And I just stood up and I watched it all, enjoyed it all with the rest of the people there. And I did see all the horizon right around was, and I've seen I think one planet there might have been Jupiter. And there was a crowd of people there. But anyway, it was a great experience. But anyway, that was where I went anyway, way over there, Mike.
Okay, thanks very much, Bernard. And so the next one I've got here, and I think this is the Fitzgeralds who were at the same place, I guess. And I think someone's online. You want to just, I've sort of edited your comments there. Do you want to just take a few seconds and say anything? You can unmute if you want. Maybe not. Okay. They were in the same place, the Cold and Darkness, 360 degrees.
Hi, sorry,
Oh,
I'm
go ahead.
unmuted. Oh my God, that was great. That was so fantastic. We went to Cape Anguille, which were having a little party atmosphere by the light station, but it just got so cloudy. We just ditched it and headed back to the highway, and it was phenomenal. And how cold it got and dark, and a 360 sunset. It was amazing. With one experience.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. And so the next location so these are eventually, I think, going to end up on the webpage. So I've grouped together the people who are at Codroy, and we've already heard from Nikolay and Randy. The Newberrys were there, and Laurie and Emma were there, and Doug was there, and Robert I don't think is online, but this was Robert's shot from Codroy of Totality. And Laurie and Emma, you're online, aren't you? I think.
Yeah, we're here.
So you want to just take a few seconds to say what you thought?
Well, it was our first eclipse and we were just in awe. Feel so privileged that we got to see it and with a great group of people. So thanks again, everybody, for such a wonderful experience. It was awesome.
Great. Thank you very much. And so from there, we jump over to where Garry was. And I've got a couple of Gary's pictures here. And there's Jim Stacy setting up his lens. And so, Jim, did you want to, you can just yell from there and I'll just move the thing. So just quickly if you can.
I empathize with all of the equipment problems everybody was reporting on. I had much the same sort of problems. Missed the first part of the eclipse because I couldn't get focus. But this is the first shot that I was able, that was in focus, and it was about 2 milliseconds in exposure time. So this was, you can see the corona and the prominences at the beginning of the eclipse. Now, this is the same similar exposure. I only took 2 exposures with roughly 2 milliseconds length, which showed the prominences. And this is at the end of the eclipse. So the rest of the time I was taking long exposures to get the corona. So at the end of the eclipse, this is the diamond bead effect. And this is my, what I did was I took a stack, an alignment and stacking of all the images that I caught during the eclipse, a total of 860 milliseconds of exposure. So this shows the corona, and you only get faint hints of the prominences because they're basically all blown out at this particular time. But what was reported was this incredible blue in the sky, and you only get a hint of it here. And I've been working hard over the last last week to try to get that blue, and I'm still working on it. I hope to share that with you soon.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Jim. And David, I don't think, is David on? Do you know, Randy? David Bourgeois? No. Anyways, David was down was David where you guys were?
No, he was up in the gravel pit, just up.
Okay, so these are some shots that David Bourgeois sent in. And there's totality, but he had a very nice video. There we are. And I want you to watch, you can see Venus in here just as we get to that, so. Okay, I think we're past the dangerous spot here now.
People, it was way, way up. People didn't realize how far up it was.
Yeah. So for the people online, it'll be just below the clouds now. And for people here, it's right there.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That's Venus. Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
It's so dark though. I want to see how the sun kind of, I mean, shadow went through clouds.
I think a bit of cloud actually adds to something.
Okay, so next we get to Gander, and that's where I was with, there are about 500 people there, and Garry was doing the planetarium for a couple days, and people were pretty impressed with that. And so there's Ann O'Grady and Hilding Nielsen who organized it, and I had the small PST, and these are pictures from my colleague Stephanie Curnow in the physics department. So this, I think, is before things have started. People are starting to look with their glasses. They had, between Let's Talk Science, which is a student group, and Hilding, I think they had about 4,000 pairs of glasses, but I think there were only about, people were coming that weren't going to stay at CNA. And that's Yakov from the physics department. And Cynthia, John and Kimberly Nugent and myself were back behind these people. That's a picture that Stephanie took. And this is John's loop. And John, are you online there? Yeah. Let me just talk for a second here. It's sort of, the loop sort of gets stuck here. Now it's moving again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of time to process or anything, but just kind of put that one together. Yeah, it was good. We got to see it partial. A little discouraging that the total happened 2-minute walk from our hotel. But other than that, it was a really good experience.
Yep, good. Thanks a lot. And so these are the pictures that I took through the solar telescope. And so you can see some sunspots. And this one is about a minute before totality, maybe a minute and a half or 2 minutes. And it looks like there's something there, but I've had to really, really pull hard on that to see anything at all. The actual video is just looks like there's slightly different colored noise there. So we had a nice approach through the partial phases, clouded just before totality, but the petals were not very far away. And John, are you on, or Andrea? And
yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so here's their statement, but this, I guess, is the gravel pit where you were, and here's some of your pictures are on the Sea Star, I guess. So you want to just say, take a few seconds?
Yeah, that's taken from the video I had from the Sea Star. The Sea Star tracked pretty well. It was fighting a lot of wind, and like it lose track of the sun a bit, but it kept on track for the most part. So those are some stills I got from that video.
Yep, and
that's the Canon 60D with the filter over it.
And this
That's
must
Andrea's
be
camera.
this must be just about at totality.
Very close to it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost at the second of totality. Like that's the last time we saw the sun. Like we only saw like a second or two, and we never got any pictures of totality at all.
Okay, and but Richard just walked across the street from our hotel, and he Cynthia and I had gone for dinner, and that came up on my phone, and I messaged Richard and said, "Where were you?" And he was right where we were. So you didn't have to move very far to find a hole. I mean, you want to,
We were just right across the road from Mary Brown's. My cousin worked at that building, so he's like, yeah, this is a good spot, come on over. So we went over and it was, clouds were coming on and off, but once the totality got, or hit, and we had just, like, it was on and off, but we had a good few, I'd say, a minute and a half of it, so it was nice.
so did you see much of the partial before? Because we were pretty clear during the partial.
Yeah, we saw most of the partial.
Okay.
It was nice sometimes when the cloud would come over because it would act like a filter and you could see it really nicely, but no, my kids enjoyed it, my grandmother enjoyed it, my aunt enjoyed it, so it's a funny.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, so we knew people were going, more adventurous people were going to places like, you know, Codroy or the Espoir Highway. We didn't want to get that far from a washroom, but also I wanted to see what, you know, I'd heard all about what was going to happen at CNA, and I sort of wanted to see how that turned out as well. So that was kind of the choice that we made. And it was still, even though we didn't see this view like this or like some of the ones we've seen, it was still under the clouds when the lights went out. That was still astounding, even though we couldn't see the hole in the sky. We could see on Gander Lake, we could see, because that's sort of the only open view we had, you could see the sunset down there, and I was still pretty impressed with the whole thing.
Yep.
And Jerry and Rita Ennis ended up at Crown Ridge, which is halfway between Gambo and Gander, I think. And they got a shot. I don't think they're online. Didn't see them on. And until in the lead up to this, it didn't sound like Terra Nova was going to open up. Doug and I were talking to David Saunders, you know, at a meeting about a month or so before, and yeah, they said no, we're not going to open up. And if as you drove through the park, all the entrances to everything off the park were chained, and so, but a week before they got the word that I guess there were people contacting them, they were going to open up, so they publicized it. And they did it at Sandy Pond, and they had a few hundred people there. And this is Sandy Pond, so this is the beach opposite the parking lot. This is from Randolph Crocker, sent this into the park, and then he agreed to. And I don't think he's online, but he said that we could show it. And they got some shots of totality there as well, and. And then is Chris online?
I'm right here.
Oh, no, Chris isn't online. Okay, so. Yeah, so you see, I took your two pictures and stitched them together here
Thank you.
to make a panorama.
Yeah, well, they're actually, okay. Not to make, we knew this was going to be a fantastic event. We were actually in the tropics vacationing the week before this. We got back just before this. And so we didn't get out to Gander. And leaving the morning of the 8th, we had snow in St. John's. Yeah. And it was actually snowing. We stuck to the plan. The plan was to drive to the middle of Terra Nova, and there's a lookout on Clode Sound I found on Google Maps. And that's very close to the center line of the, like, almost 3 minutes of totality. We'll see if we can actually see anything through the clouds. It looks like it's snowing, for crying out loud. So we drove anyway. The snow on the ground stopped once we passed the isthmus and Clarenville ways. There's, as you can tell, there's no snow in Terra. That was encouraging, but it's still 100% cloudy. And so I set up a little tracking mount. You can see the tripod head there. I ended up taking the camera off of it because I couldn't point at the sun, not see the sun. We didn't see the first half of the entrance into the partial phase, 407 and onwards. So it was about 4:35 when we first saw the cracks in the clouds. And I managed to snap a few during the, as we got deeper and deeper. And you were talking about the shadow. We actually did see the totality for about 2 to 5 second bits, and there's my incredibly drunken and handheld proof that we actually did see totality. Through what's on the left-hand side, that's what the experience was. We had cracks in the clouds every now and then. Fortunately, would go over the sun, but we had like just under 3 minutes for a crack to go over during totality, and it actually happened. But the descent into blackness 10, 15, 20 seconds before totality started. And I'm glad David Bourgeois captured that so wonderfully in video, because it was that fast.
That impressed us.
And that's where the difference between 99% and 100 is.
Yes.
That last 1%, when the bottom drops out of it and it becomes night.
Yeah.
And nobody was expecting that, and there was lots of pieces. Everyone was like, oh my God. We had, we were the only car, the first car to show up at that lookout. And by the time things got underway, there were maybe 25 or 30 cars and 1 or 2 people per car. So, do the math. A fair number showed up. We had some people with blankets and refreshments, and everyone had glasses. A few didn't. We passed out glasses. There was a great spirit. Having said that, it started to clear really nicely after totality. And almost everybody packed up and drove back along the highway. I guess they'd seen the good part. What am I missing? No, I think that's it. My first time experiencing totality, even had we not seen the black hole-ish effect of totality itself through the clouds, you saw the shadow, or didn't see the light, as it were. And that was astounding, how dark it was. And then it lasted, and then it suddenly brightened again. At the end, we're counting off, and I said, it's going to get bright, it's going to get, it got bright. And when it got bright, it got orange. It was quite something. So, I think I'm probably hooked, and I'm going to go look at pyramids.
Okay.
Experience the temperature drop.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to say. When we were setting up, the wind chill was already below 0 because it's so exposed and it was cold. So, but the wind disappeared during totality. It probably got colder, but we were not noticing that it was colder than cold because we were already numb. But we just forgot the wind. We forgot the cold. It was like, wow. So, but it got colder. Sorry?
The champagne helped us.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We had, although a little bit before to the right of us, they had their little bottles of champagne. We should have brought some. I had to drive.
Yep. Okay, thanks. Actually, you're talking about the people showing up. That reminded me of something I was going to say about Gander was, and Garry would have seen this. There was a lot of media at Gander, obviously. There was actually some reporters from the New York Times who were taking pictures. Did you interact with them?
Yeah, I was talking, and they came in while I was giving a talk, and they took pictures of everything. Actually, they gave me their card and everything.
Randy?
On the CNN coverage, they showed an eclipse map. The only place in Canada on the map was Gander.
Really? Okay. Yeah, so there was the next to us, so we were set up and I had my little computer, because it didn't really work with the eyepiece with the clouds going through. So I projected like I've done sometimes on the computer. There was a table next to us, and it was a fellow from Tennessee and his wife and his son. He was not quite as old as me, but getting there. And he was a little bit different, and I could sort of tell. And at one point he said something. I said, "You're a physics professor." And he had been a professor at Vanderbilt, and his son was a physicist, and he was doing some demonstrations, and there was BBC and NTV and Rogers, and so there was part of that kind of atmosphere there too. Okay, so continuing on our trip. So this was Chris, so I edited this a little bit, but we're going to post these on these slides, so that'll carry that along. Greg, I don't think I've seen him on, and Greg's not here, right? Won't make that mistake twice. And Greg went to Clarenville and I guess didn't see too much, but still, he enjoyed it. And then we get, Marcellus, was at Goobies. Marcellus, you're online, right? I guess he's not there now. Goobies was, I guess, could see it getting dark. And then we get to the folks that went down and down. David, I guess, didn't really go on to Buren. You were sort of up above Buren, but as Nikolay said, you hit a pretty lucky spot. So Highway 211, and that highway actually starts outside of the path of totality, and then loops up into the path of totality, and then back out.
I was right on the pretty end.
So you hit the sweet spot, and so did you want to say anything about your shots?
That's basically the shot that I took with my cell phone when I arrived. If you look down underneath, you can actually see a reflection in the camera showing the.
Oh yeah, there it is, right there.
That's cool. Yeah, it's really. I didn't even notice that until somebody mentioned.
I didn't notice it until you pointed it out there.
Yeah.
See, but so I did the same thing that Marcellus and Chris did. I started in St. John's with all that snow, and I drove over and picked up my good friend Terrence Hounsel. He's a photographer. He really didn't have a vehicle, so I drove him up to. Originally, I was going to go to the Goobies, or west of that, which is the Piper's Hole River. That's where I was planning on staying, but it was cloudy. It was only some clearing, so when I got there, there was several hours before the eclipse because I left really early. I didn't want to end up with a crowd of people, or traffic jam. So I really wanted to see this. That's why I left that early in the morning. So I had time left over. So I decided to go drive west to Terranceville. That was the name of my friend Terrence, so we kind of laughed about that. But as I drove there, it just cleared up. The sky just rose, all the blue sky so I decided basically not to go back, and instead I went up to Highway 211, which is on the way back to the movies basically, and also the Branch Road, which is a small highway that goes, 2-lane highway goes to Grand Lapierre. It's a tiny little town on the west side of Buren Peninsula. So anyway, I got really lucky. It was really cold. The wind was very strong, so I wasn't able to get a lot of images. I just selected a few from a video that I had taken through a T90 or 900. Actually, it's a larger Nikon point and shoot camera. Is what I used. I had the video going. I managed to get some nice shots up there right before the eclipse, and then I struggled to get the filter off. I didn't do it right, so I had this plastic clip. I had to pull it off, and I got a couple of nice shots of the total eclipse.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, there you are. Yeah.
So I think you were so far south of the line. It was about 30 seconds of
It
totality.
was maybe 45 seconds. That's all it was.
Incredible.
A lot. I did do a lot in a very short period of time, but it was clear. It was completely clear at the totality. I could see the prominences of the halo.
Super shot. Great, thank you. And then Kim and Sue did go down to, and your mother.
Yeah, we went to we stopped at Arnold's Cove for lunch, and then we kept on going towards Ruby's, and then we turned left and went down towards the Swift Current area, and we saw a very beautiful area of the Newfoundland, the Swift Current area. A wonderful time in Arnold's Cove as well, and then we went to after that we went west towards Piper's Hole River area, and we decided to hold out there because we had close to 2 minutes of totality, so we just decided to hold out, and hopefully the clouds would clear at totality. But we saw the eclipse, some nice glimpses of the eclipse all the way up to just till it was this slight slit, just a small slit, and then the clouds just came in and blocked most of the view. I think I could see a slight glow behind the clouds, but that was it. And the shadow came, it was like somebody turning down a dimmer switch. It was a very strange experience. And then
Sounds like what we had in Gander.
Nearby dog seemed to go to sleep, and it was colder, and you could see the light glow around the whole area.
That's what I like,
Yeah.
the way the light came back all the way around.
Yeah,
Glow.
it really came out fast after we
Yeah.
left it.
Amazing.
Yeah, and right before totality, I see on my telescope for the dark, but then once it ended, it was really bright. Right before totality, I could see on my telescope, you could see the very distinct shadows like cast, because there was a clearing just before totality. And it was strange, it was like there was an arc lamp way up in the sky. It was very, very bright slits, really, but it was so bright that it looked like an arc lamp, or like you could see the distinct shadows. It was very eerie kind of glow, like very bright glow, but very faint at the same time.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And,
Wonderful experience.
and our last report is from Gemma. I just sort of grabbed that off the talk line. And Gemma, are you online? Do you want to say a couple words?
I'm online, Mike. Yeah, so a bunch of us drove out from St. John's as my first full experience. And we drove past Swift Current and just past Piper's Hole, and kind of just pulled off into a random gravel pit off the highway there. And we had blazing sun for the partial eclipse, so that was awesome. And when we got to totality, it was pretty cloudy, but the clouds kind of parted. And we did get to see the corona, which was just fantastic. It was freezing, which I was expecting, but it was super cold. We had to wrap one of my friends up in a sleeping bag from my car because she was too cold. And yeah, when we got to totality, we cracked a bunch of beers. It was one of my friend's birthdays, so there was lots of cheering and great experience. Thank you to everyone who was following the forecasts and everything. It was really great.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And so that's pretty much it. And we'll break this up into bite-sized pieces and post. Yeah, go ahead, Randy. Oh,
I don't know if you want to show.
what was there? Oh, that was you post yours. Okay, well, let's give it a shot. I need to get it over onto this screen. And yeah, so Jordan was here at our last meeting, and so you were where in Grand Falls?
Grand Falls, the Santa Fe. Around 2:30, it was clear there, so I figured I'd wait, and I was kind of deciding if I was going to go down the 360 toward St. Albans, but I stayed there. Can you click on them? Really cool.
What was that taken with?
It was a A7 III with a 500 millimeter and got the filter off. For how much? 500? It was 500, 1/8,000.
Okay, how do I? Oh, there we are. Okay.
Zoom in.
How can have our sunspots with focus? Everybody.
I used it for focus, and then I just lost it and then left it.
We had a lot of flies on the beach, and people were thinking that I had flies on my.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for that was very clever to to get that in there.
The clouds at all in Grand Falls?
It was perfectly clear, and then as soon as it started to end, then it clouded over completely.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I had two other very short stories from Gander. As we were setting up, there was a family next to us with a DSLR on a tripod holding eclipse glasses in front of the DSLR. So I went and said, no, you can't do that. That's all sorts of bad things are going to happen there, because of course they aren't even covering the whole lens. So but they had a GoPro, so they put the eclipse glasses on the GoPro, and I guess they survived. But the other thing, which was kind of heartbreaking, I just remembered this as we were talking about the experience, was next to us there was a mother and a little girl. How old do you think she was, Cynthia?
Probably about 4 or 5.
And I guess she had heard all about what she was going to see at totality. And of course, where we were, it got dark, but what she had been expecting didn't happen. And then it got light and she realized it was over and she started to cry. And it was kind of heartbreaking. I told her, look, I'm almost 70. I didn't see it either. I still haven't seen it. That didn't help at all. Apparently that wasn't the right thing to say. But it was kind of sad. She just couldn't get over the fact that I guess she just seen so much build up about it and it didn't happen. So anyways, so thank you everybody for listening and for sending in your pictures and that. I'm going to do a fairly fast run through because actually in the last month, some people made observations that were not eclipsed, so I do want to run through them. We aren't going to do the sky this month tonight, but it'll be posted on the website as a PDF in a couple days. So not surprisingly, there were lots of solar images last month. I guess everybody trying out their stuff. So Randy got some beautiful sunspot. There was a lot of sunspot activity, later on in March. And Garry, these are using C-Star. I guess that's the same sunspot group. It is the same a couple days later. Oh, could be, yeah. And so this is, I did this with the PST. There was a big prominence there. Bernard was using the Solar Max 2 and lovely shot of all sorts of stuff. This is later in March. And John Nugent, congratulations, John, got a C-Star. And you notice this is 2 days after the eclipse. It arrived, well, it probably arrived on the day of the eclipse while John was in Gander. So nice try. But this was first light for his C-Star. And then Garry did a beautiful picture of the moon with his C-Star. That must be just about the full moon. I did a shot of, I was trying to see the comet 12P Pons Brooks. So this was from Signal Hill. And I did get Mercury. And so everybody said, oh, we were hoping to see the comet. And so that was that night once it got dark. And I'm pretty sure that's where the comet was. It is a little bit green, and I sort of found it relative to these things here. And this was a 2.5 second exposure. So did I think anybody was going to see the comet during the eclipse? I wasn't expecting that because I could barely get it with a DSLR. With a telescope maybe, but
with binoculars, I tried.
yeah. And John and Andrea, beautiful picture here. And of now the moon, of course, you can see the Earth shine. There's Jupiter and the moons, and that's Uranus there. So that's so Uranus. They said what that bright star is in their post, but I forget it. That's a star. And I fiddled the brightness in PowerPoint just to pull Uranus out a little bit. John, are you and Andrea online? What kind of camera are you using for this?
Still here. That's a Canon 60D and a Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter lens.
Okay. And they're pretty good at that. And April 10th, Garry was, I guess, had a no-show at the MI, or
Yes.
and so here's so this, of course, April 8th was a new moon, obviously had to be. So this is 2 days after the new moon, and Jupiter is there.
You can see it better in the other one. Right next to
Yeah, there it is there. Okay. There's Jupiter there and yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the 10th, yeah. So 2 days after the new moon.
Yes, oh, greater shine.
And that's must be later that evening. Oh, that's the next night. And John with his Sea Star did the same thing. And so now we'll do some of the deep sky objects. So Jim Johnson's online. He did the Iris Nebula. So this is with his small refractor, 148 3-minute exposures. Very, very nice, Jim. You can see everything. And also did the Eagle Nebula. And there it is there. And Pillars of Creation are right down in there. So again, now this is, so Jim does 2 telescopes at the same time now, but we don't feel inadequate at all. So this is his new 8-inch Raza, which someday we're going to get him to give us a talk about. His very fast telescope. So this is only 71-minute exposures. Another beautiful shot, Jim. And then this is also Jim doing M101. And then we're going to see some shots of M51, so the Pinwheel Galaxy, and the M101 is actually about 70% bigger than the Milky Way, and the M51, there's actually 2 galaxies interacting. And so there's, oh, I guess we got the M51 first. So this is with the Razoscope, and Jim did this. Jim, did you want to say just a few words about your dew heater?
Yeah, I can if you like.
Yeah, just a few seconds. So this is with your dew heater on.
Yeah, so Celestron sells a dew heater that goes on the corrector plate. It's a kind of a ring, that an aftermarket product that you can add to like a Raza or a Smith Cassegrain. And I was having problems with these funny looking spikes in my stars, and I was a while trying to figure out what it was. And I did post on Cloudy Nights, and someone pointed me towards a forum posting indicating that the problem was the dew heater.
So this one was the dew heater on, and then a couple nights later the dew heater off. Now something funny's happened here because one's mirrored to the other, but
yeah, I guess I forgot to flip the first one, because with the Raza it's just a single mirror, so you always get a mirror image.
Yep. And so this fixed turning the dew heater off, made things better. I think was the conclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And so John Peddle also did M51 with his Sea Star, and very nice. And then so this is a couple days after the eclipse. Jim was back at it with the Raza, and this is M101, and that's just a beautiful shot of that. And so much detail, and you can see the dust and everything.
Dust around the ground. Never seen anything like that.
And
Where was I taking them?
he's in CBS.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, his telescope's in CBS. Jim could be anywhere, but
yeah, I was offshore for those.
Yeah, and John, again, we're still in the sort of first light phase with his Sea Star, and he also did M101. So very nice, John. So John, are you pretty happy with your Sea Star?
I love it. It's so simple and quick. It's incredible. I can't wait to start processing them, like practicing that stuff.
Okay, great. And So Garry did, okay, the Owl Nebula, which I marked off here, M97. It's down here underneath the Dipper, and the Surfboard Galaxy M108 is very close to that. And these are also with the Sea Star. So there's the Surfboard Galaxy, named possibly because it looks like a surfboard. And there's the Owl Nebula, and that's pretty cool. And lots of us tried the Leo triplet, and so that's 3 galaxies down in here. And so there's Jim Johnson's again with the Raza, and you can see lots of dust and lots of detail. John did it with this is not with the Sea Star, this is with his 72mm refractor, 4 hours, and Jim gave him some help. Jim Johnson gave him some help with processing, right, John? And then John did his own processing.
Lots of help.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said lots of help he gave me.
Okay. And then I gave it a shot. And that's 46 2-minute exposures. And then John did it again with the Sea Star. And so we didn't leave Leo triplet alone this month. We kept it pretty busy. And then we get to Chris, and Chris had a tour de force. So we're talking about a galaxy which is pretty far away. So 71 million light years away. That must be just about the other side of the galaxy, right?
Sorry, it's about 7188, depends on what you look at, million light years away. It's very faint.
Yeah.
This galaxy, I went after this because there's a supernova in it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna show them that, but yeah, that supernova there, but yeah, so, but I'm thinking it must be right across, 71 million, no, my brain's,
That's okay.
I've lost my mind. I was burned out after the, I was thinking our galaxy is 100,000 light years across, so I'm only out by a factor of 1,000. Okay, 3 orders of magnitude. Okay, we'll cross that one out. Sorry about that. Okay, there it is anyways.
Yeah, it'll show up quite as well here. This is an observation that nearly didn't happen. Beautifully clear night, everyone went up, most of you looked at the triplet. I wanted to look at the supernova, 12-inch reflector in the backyard. Neighbors had the lights on, but I had a new dew shield. I'm gonna beat you this time. And I set up, I even painted the inside of the dew shield fresh, blah, blah, blah. Set up, got everything going. Finally, 3-minute exposures, it was guiding properly, et cetera, et cetera. This galaxy is faint. This magnitude 14.5 galaxy, the M51's magnitude 8. That's a factor of 350 times fainter. And the supernova, the bright thing indicated just to one side, is as bright as the rest of the galaxy. The galaxy is intrinsically faint. It's called a low luminosity spiral. But in any case, I set it up, watched the first 5 or 6 exposures, 3-minute exposures, went into the house. Came out an hour and a half later, and Windows had shut down the machine, was in the middle of an update. I had no idea when it started the update. I just basically cursed and shut it all down and went to bed. And having thought I lost everything but 5 images, it turns out I got 31 images before it shut down. And this stack are 19 of them. So, I didn't get a chance to shoot calibrators. I went out the following day, careful not to touch the focus or anything, and shot, took pictures of the clouds, basically, same setup, white, an even white, and that worked. And it calibrated out reasonably well. So, that faint supernova. So I'm going to try this again with another face.
Good. That's pretty impressive. And it's pretty impressive how bright that supernova is compared to the rest of the galaxy.
This one's a type 2, so it's a massive star blowing up.
Especially probably everything else is a star in our galaxy, but the only one bright one in the galaxy is the supernova.
Yeah. Anyways, let's see. Oh, I guess we had, John did another one. This was the Rosette Nebula, and this is with his refractor. And sorry, I spelled Jim Johnson's name wrong. See, I was kind of burned out after doing all the eclipse slides. But very, very nice shot of the Rosette Nebula. And I did a couple of mostly because I couldn't, I've got a very limited sky in my backyard, so I did a couple of open clusters.
One that I was telling you to look at.
Let's say, so this is M35. M35 is also called the shoe buckle cluster because there's Gemini and it looks like it's on a shoe. And the other one is the starfish cluster, which is in Auriga. And so there was M35, and there's the starfish cluster, which sort of looks like a starfish. And Garry did M78, which is up here, Casper the Friendly Ghost. And and we've got another one from Jim Johnson, which was the question mark nebula, which is over here. So here's Polaris, Cassiopeia. So in between Cassiopeia and Polaris, there's Cepheus, and that's where the question mark nebula is there. And you have to sort of twist yourself a little bit to see. Yeah, sort of.
It's not quite wide field enough to see the question mark. Actually, the dot for the question mark would be out of frame right at the bottom.
Down here somewhere. Okay.
Yep.
So that's the curly part. And
yes.
One of the interesting things about this nebula, so this is this bit down here, or maybe all of it, is apparently being illuminated by this star. That's its designation. So I was wondering which star in this picture is that star, since it seems to be lighting everything up. And so I had a look for that, and it turns out that the important star in this picture is probably not the one anybody would have guessed. It's that one there.
Yeah, I think you got the information wrong on this one too, Mike.
Oh, what did I get wrong?
Oh, that was with the that was taken with the refractor.
Oh, okay.
And 2600 MC.
Okay, so I got everything wrong. So it's time to wrap up the meeting then. Okay, sorry about that, Jim.
It's getting worse as you go along.
Yeah, I'm falling apart. Who wants to be president next week? Okay, anyways, the sky this month is going to get posted when Robert gets that done, and some stuff's up with him. But I'll just remind you again, the next meeting is a members meeting, and we'd really like to see other people up here talking. So, and anything that you're doing, I think we'd be interested in hearing anything, any sort of project or something that you've learned, something you want to learn, something that astounds you. Come up and tell us. International Astronomy Day coming up in May, a couple days after that meeting, and still a chance to submit your calendar, your eclipse shots for the calendar. Yes, Garry.
April 30th. RCM, I'm just trying to think of planetarium show, 8:30. April 30th.
April 30th. Everybody got that? Is that a Thursday?
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
What time?
8:30.
8:30.
Planetarium show at the Marine Institute. Sunstruck, seeing it's all about the sun this month.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's it. So thank you, everybody. Sorry for all the mistakes at the end there.
Thank you for all your hard work.
A massive presentation.
Thank you. Randy's got something.
In my presentations, I had the word rare for eclipses in quotes. I think as you saw, everyone assumed it was going to be cloudy, we don't get anything. The weather predictions for cloud in the US are completely wrong, upside down. And most of Canada had a much better eclipse than the US did. And I hope you all have a good time. Yeah. Let's rent the bus and go somewhere.
What's that?
Let's rent the bus and go to Spain.
Can you get to Spain on a bus?
Oh, yes. Drive really fast.
Yeah, I mean, and thank you to the people who have seen eclipses that got us all worked up about it and got us prepared for it. I think that really enhanced the experience, certainly for me, and I think for a lot of us. I've seen a partial, but I've never stood underneath it like that, and I really appreciated all the.
That's why we're chasers.
Yeah. Okay, so I think there are some refreshments up here, and people online, thank you very much for coming. Make yourself a coffee and have a cookie or something. And Randy again. Oh, yes. Randy's preparing a commemorative mug, which I guess will be sell more or less at cost. And he's working on, if you go on the RESC NL Talk, there are some designs being discussed, and I guess it's sort of converging to one. Okay. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Good night.
That's what we're all, I think.